Hey everyone, this is Ian Miller. Welcome back to Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. Tonight we actually have two new guests. They're coming from all the way from Australia. Well, not really coming from Australia. They're coming live from Australia. And it's actually 10 o'clock in the morning over there. Uh, please welcome Aaron and Josh Mak, the Mak brothers.
Hi everybody. Good morning or evening.
Yeah, the time zone is very confusing.
It's great.
Yeah, it keeps everyone on the toes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So, as with each new guest, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Josh Mak, and
I'm Aaron Mak,
and we are the creative team behind the Nation Comics and the creators of Gods Among Men.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Short, sweet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just show everyone what Gods Among Men looks like. Yeah, this is this is actually the poster. And why don't you tell us about it?
Gods Among Men, we call it a socially disruptive true crime story. It's a story that we've had for a very long time, and we've tried a lot of different ways to bring it about, and we found comics was the best medium for it.
That's fair enough.
It's sort of like a unprecedented narco noir. Mm-hmm. That's the other angle. It's kind of diving into the underworld elements and how that and the regular world, our mundane world, is not really so different.
Wow, I like the sound of that.
I think there's a lot about it that's with the true crime element that we're sort of, you could say, blessed or cursed with, knowing this additional knowledge that we really wanted to imbue authenticity into the book.
That was actually a good idea. Just trying to make it a bit more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of things that it can happen to everybody daily and you don't notice it, how much it is like a part of your world. So we're kind of peeling back the layers and showing you what's happening right in front of your eyes.
No, I like that aspect because you rarely see adding two genres, horror, supernatural, and noir together. So it's very refreshing to see stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's I think sort of playing around in the true crime area was kind of new territory. There wasn't a lot of precedents to go by, which was scary but also exciting. In that we tend to turn to more films for inspiration.
Well, that's always a plus because, as you know, a lot of creators like to turn to film, as a source or some kind of inspiration. So it's very positive that you guys did that with this.
I mean, our initial intention was to actually do it as a film.
Really?
That was the intention. We planned on shooting it as a film, and then when that proved a bit restrictive because we thought a movie's like 2 or 3 hours tops, that's too little to tell this whole story. So we thought maybe TV series, and then we started work on a pilot, and that pilot would eventually become issue 1.
Plus the budgetary limitations were astronomical.
Not to mention like logistical limitations, certain scenes, certain locations, you just couldn't get to shoot there.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like that you're bringing up the pages, because I think even a page like this that ordinarily could be something so simple, we've had reactions where, there is an appeal to people, locals in Australia and Melbourne, where they go, oh, I feel like I know this place. But I think that kind of authenticity translates over to, even if you don't know this place, that we really wanted to capture that instance, at that moment in time and space that events occurred. And yeah, I think a page like this was pretty key in even establishing that, setting that tone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because there is a aspect of being familiar, something very familiar about this, which I think, because readers are looking at this as like, I know a place like this.
Mm,
It may not be, in the same country, but I know a place like this.
mm,
I think the concepts are pretty universal.
Mhm.
If you live in Melbourne, you'll get an extra kick out of it because you'd recognize the actual locations.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Like you guys are in New York. I'm pretty sure, the scenes and the subject matter is something that would resonate just as much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is an interestingly different tone kind of page to what we've been seeing so far.
Mhm.
One thing that's really important to us, because I guess if I had any hobbies, you would say it'd be cooking. And we wanted a lot of detail when we made scenes where food was involved, where you can almost see a step-by-step kind of like instructional on how to make whatever dish we're talking about.
Which I think it's quite key, and this is probably a good time to bring it up. So the character in the black t-shirt, that's our protagonist. His name is Jason Lee.
Mhm.
And what was really key for the first issue for us was we did want to start at the beginning of the story to really show you this is a pretty regular guy. He's got things that are a bit different, but for the most part, he's a small business owner. He's trying to make something with his life. But all the pages that you'd seen prior were also key to showing this is what he will become. This is the direction that he's going towards.
Mhm.
And I think it acts as both showing that great transformation that will occur, but also the fact that we know exactly how the story ends, all the major arcs and everything. So we're not kind of making stuff up as we go.
That's actually very smart, creating the ending, while you're creating the beginning, because you'll know where to go,
Mm.
It's like you said, you're not making stuff as you go along. You have a plan,
Mm.
which is fantastic, because very rarely, like, creators don't have plans.
Mm. It's good, I think, for us, that it's not about figuring out the what, but figuring out the how.
Yeah. It's also the journey.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, in the medium, I guess what we do is we have to think about everything's based on these true events, but the challenge is, which event do you include
Mhm.
and how do you put them together in a cohesive issue? So that's mostly what we work on rather than trying to formulate, what's the next progression of the story.
Mm.
Yeah, I love the artwork. Who did the art?
So our artist is Ben Sullivan. He's a Melbourne local, and he's been in the scene for the past about 7-8 years. So when we sort of felt that we needed to find an artist, because we had a period where I thought, oh, maybe I'd give it a crack, and I just wasn't, I just wasn't up to scratch. But yeah, we approached him, and it was a bit of an intimidating thing. I'm like, oh, Ben Sullivan, he's been in the scene, but I was really pleasantly surprised that when we met him and brought the idea up to him, that what was meant to be like a half-hour quick meeting turned out to be like a 4-hour. We were just talking and expanding. So since then, he's been on board our team, and it's been awesome.
Well, he does incredible work, and he really compliments your writing.
Mm. I think and you can expand on this more, but what was really key to us with Ben and finding an artist in general was it went beyond just their technical ability. There was a certain level of he had to be willing to dive in with us.
Yeah, I think this comes back to our initial plan on doing it like a film. And when you do film, you have actors who do things like method acting, where they really get to experience the character to understand who they are. And we approached it the same way. So not only telling Ben these stories, we brought him to the actual locations that he would draw.
Wow.
On top of that, we'd have photos of it, but rather than just a photo, we'd bring him to the location while telling him what happens in that scene, and he really got a feel for it in real life, and that really helps him. He enjoys that stuff. So a single page that you see is actually made up of many hours of us working with Ben for him to get as close as possible to the feelings of that particular scene, and it translates onto paper, I think, in the end.
Full immersion.
Exactly. Yeah, this is fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
It really does help to be collaborative with the artist.
Yeah.
Because we had to make sure that you're on the same page and also ask any questions right away.
Yeah. And Ben's great with that. Like, he's always been, if he's got something he's not clear about, he'd ask questions. And I've even likened that your artist is, not just your director of photography, but also your actors. You know, and I think really injecting the right emotion is so key to kind of establishing characters, establishing tone, and overall story and setting even.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, this was fully funded in 1 hour.
Yeah. That
Pleasant surprise.
blew us away.
Yeah,
I mean,
how shocked were you guys when you saw that?
We actually were doing a video on Instagram Live for the whole, from the moment the campaign started. Yeah, so you can actually see our genuine reactions when it happened, because it was down to the wire. We were, I think,
about $100,
something like that, $100 away in the last minute.
Wow.
And because when we first started the stream, it was kind of like, all right, that's a thing you do. You start a stream with a launch, and I think we do plan to do one at the end. But I remember in the first 10 minutes, there was a really big boom, which I was like, oh, amazing. There were people we knew, people we didn't know, who were kind of waiting in the wings. And I made a joke on the live, and I said, wouldn't it be what a nice little cherry on top if we got fully funded in the first hour. And it got closer and closer, and that was when the knees started buckling. It's like, this might be real. This might happen.
I can't tell you how I like to hear stories like that, especially in the first hour, because you're putting a lot of yourself in these projects. You're putting your heart, your soul in these projects, and you're hoping that it finds an audience. So once it's fully, funded, you're like breathing a sigh of relief, but then you're like, okay, now I have to deliver on the next issue.
Yeah, 100%. I think between the two of us, I'm more of the worrier. So even leading up to the campaign, I was telling him like, hey, what if we got a plan for what if we don't get funded and all that? And that just got wiped out in that one moment.
Hey, the comic guys were with you.
Yeah. And, the moment we got funded, the next thought that kicked in was, okay, we need to push this even harder to go as far as we can, because the better we can do, the easier it is for us to bring the next bit out in terms of, how fast we can produce it. And I think as of today, we're probably at about 250% funded.
Just, I think, 245,
something like that.
Wow.
So again, that's amazing. Aha.
Yeah. You're number one on the list.
We were.
Yeah. This was a pretty, I remember I got the heads up about this from a friend, and I had no idea about KickTrack, and it was 11 p.m. that night of the day of launch. And he goes, oh, by the way, he's like, congratulations on the campaign and everything. And he said, by the way, do you know you guys have been trending on KickTrack? And I was like, what's KickTrack?
Oh, my.
And he sends me this link, and he said, yeah, since you guys launched, you've been sitting at the #1 spot for highest trending comic book Kickstarter campaign. So obviously I couldn't sleep the rest of the night.
Obviously not.
Yeah, I was like, from not knowing what KickTrack was to now knowing what it is and what this means.
Yeah.
So I was tracking it through till the next day, so all the way until 10 a.m. the following day. So I was like, a solid 24 hours. And that blew me away. I told Josh, and I don't know, what was your reaction?
What's KickTrack?
Oh man. Yeah, so now I'm actually going to show them the actual Kickstarter page where they can actually go to.
Mhm.
And here we go. Wow. And you got 5 days to go.
Yes. Oh, and one new backer. Woohoo!
Oh, okay then.
Awesome, amazing.
Yeah, this just looks fantastic.
Thank you. We we did work closely with our publisher. His name is Shane Siddle from Comics Studio,
Mhm.
and he helped kind of set up the framework, and he has got some experience with Kickstarter, so he was kind of filling us in on what is required. And then once I jumped on, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like filling out like an IMDb profile.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, okay, we can make this pop and images and fill in the right keywords. So it was I think once I got started on actually writing out what the Kickstarter campaign said, yeah, it was kind of fun.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Right.
Actually, we've got a copy here to show too of our exclusive foil cover, and it's super shiny.
Now, hold on a second. Let me see that. Let me see that again.
Here we go. So
Oh, yeah.
it's reflecting the light like crazy.
Yeah.
This is a foil cover, and it kind of wraps around to the back too. We made 50 of these, and we debuted them at Melbourne Supernova, which is the second largest comic convention in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I think
sold about half of them.
yeah, we got down to about half, which was a real, we thought we'd go and sort of introduce ourselves to the scene too. It was our first con. And yeah, we're really happy with the response from people.
Absolutely.
So we had a few.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We had a few left that we decided to make available on Kickstarter. How many did we put up?
So we put 20 out, and we're down to 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You better get them fast, guys. But you better get them fast. You better back this thing before they all sold out.
Well, we're not. That's the thing. We talked amongst ourselves, and we said we're not gonna make. We wanted to keep the exclusivity of it, and so we're not putting any more silver foil. So what you see is
what you get.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, we have a bit more detail about the cast here. Obviously, that's Jason Lee, as you did just talk about.
Jason Lee. So Paulo Longano is a character who we touch upon in the first issue, but he has a more prominent role later on. It's a little bit of that. Let me see what I've written there. But I think certain characters will be key later on that get introduced in the first stage. But also to kind of show that's what our first few pages really shows, that the gravitas of where Jason's journey takes him from this sort of cleaner, this restaurant, sort of legitimate business.
I will say one thing that's very unique in this comic, even though it's a crime story, is you're not going to see action scenes like car chases and gunfights.
Yeah.
It's not that those things don't occur, but it never occurs on screen.
I think that was and that's something that's really integral to the kind of story that we're telling too, is that there will be characters as well in the story that have sort of developed their understanding of the criminal world based off movies. People who are in that world have taken their knowledge from movies, and a lot of transactions and interactions really are much more similar to the world of business, or should be, than the world of movies.
Oh yeah.
That was something that we found with film, and we're big fans of movies, especially things in this genre, that I found there was always a need to kind of exaggerate and dramatize things for the audience. But I think the audience is sometimes smarter than
sophisticated.
Than the creators give them credit for, the filmmakers, that there's a lot more nuance to, microtransactions and little actions than in the big flamboyant kind of scenes.
Yeah,
I think it also creates this sort of point of relatability that, if things start to get too crazy beyond the realm of possibility, there is a sense of disconnect and a relatability lost. Whereas we've got, like Jason Lee's struggles are very grounded. They're very human. And I think it is through that you would latch onto him. But as time goes on, the idea is that as Jason Lee starts to dive deeper, the reader's going to want to question themselves, like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is it not as straightforward as that? So I think that's the fun of the journey.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, now we head up to the rewards.
Yes.
Let's see here. You have 3 collector's cards.
That's our entry level, sort of like the taste to play. So from that point on, so we're only offering physical rewards because we wanted to approach comics in a slightly different way, sort of more as a boutique item, because the industry is undoubtedly changing and print comics aren't getting produced at the same level that they used to be.
Yeah.
So we said, why don't we make a higher quality comic book? And, we won't sell as much of the physical, but it becomes more of a rarer boutique item.
It's very smart thinking.
We will do digital down the track, but we do want people to have the opportunity. If you do want the physical, via Kickstarter is where we're going to make them available. So they're kind of more exclusive that way. And we put more effort into going above and beyond in terms of things like paper quality or what we're offering.
I think that was one of the thought processes that went behind the shiny foil, was we wanted to have something that really stood out. And I will say, when we were at Supernova and just kind of, doing the rounds and walking past the booth, I'm like, wow, when this thing bounces off light, like, it's really quite an eye catcher.
That's a good thing because it causes people to go to it and say, hey, what's this?
Yeah. I mean, there's the old adage that says never judge a book by its cover, but what are covers for? If not the first round of judgment.
Exactly. Okay, so you have that. You have the print edition, obviously. Print edition with the full set of collector's cards.
Yes. So actually, one thing we wanted to do with the collector's cards too was, we were very aware that a lot of other Kickstarters and people do trading cards. However, when we looked at the idea of trading cards, we thought it's going to be not really the kind of story you can do trading cards with. So we deemed them collector's cards because we wanted to insert bits of information that you couldn't get just from the book. So they're like mini data books expanding on the world and the characters.
Yeah. And you also have a hardcover edition.
Yes. Tell us about the hardcover.
The hardcover is, that's very special to me. That was something I really wanted to do. I just like the feel of it, and we wanted to go above and beyond to include things in the hardcover that the regular comic wouldn't have. So one thing that we do that's, I guess, unique to us is at the back of our comic, it doesn't matter which one you get, there are QR codes. And the QR codes lead to different mediums. It leads to like our social media pages. It leads to music and to videos, which further expand on the story. So it's a multimedia sort of way to tell the story. And with the hardcover, you get an additional QR code that you won't find in any other copy.
And I'll say this about the hardcover exclusive QR code: it cements the story in our world at the time that it occurred.
Wow. Oh boy. You see what you're missing out here, folks, right? By not banking this? Come on, get going, bank it.
And you know what? That's not all we're including. We even have a handwritten foreword from the main character at the beginning. In the back, There will also be every copy will get a different personalized message, which also will give a little bit of insight into the story or Easter eggs. We want them to be different too, because we want to foster a community of people who start trying to piece things together and figure out the wider story, and start chattering, hey, what did your hardcover have, or what did your thing say? And also Ben Sullivan will be doing a custom remark in the back of them too for every one of them.
Wow. See, this is careful planning, careful thinking. I'm surprised you guys didn't do an audio drama yet. Okay, you just lied to me, so I'm like, maybe you thought about it.
A lot of the things that you're seeing, I know it seems like we've come out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, and all these things have happened, but we've been working on this for many, many years, over a decade. It's just that in the last year, we have introduced it as a comic. A lot of this other multimedia stuff are things that we have been doing, trying to tell this story over many years. So now it gives us a chance to package it all together.
It's like, you could smart. And it really just showed that you have worked on this for years, and you're going to see it to, fruition. And that makes me happy for you guys. It really does.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we want people to dig the hunters, uncover the story.
It's also because I guess this is my life's work, and I didn't want to feel like things I had done before had gone to waste. So maybe I'm just being cheap and trying to
bundle it.
I wouldn't say you were cheap. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. No, but I really commend you guys. I really do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's funny because when I used to, with my band, I've got two bands. We'll get to the other one later. But with my first band, I put a lot of these stories into my lyrics. And while people listen to the songs and like the songs, I realized nobody was paying attention to the lyrics. They knew how to sing it, but they never read it. And that's people with a lot of songs. You might know all the words, but you have no idea what it's about.
I think whereas the comic medium was a direct, shorter film, like it was the most direct way you could tell the story and people know what the story is. And then even if later they listen to the songs and go, oh, the song is expanding on the story of the comic. Technically, the comic is expanding on because the songs came first.
Yeah. And that brings us to the stretch goals.
That's a great segue into what I was just talking about.
So I've actually got the physical of that right here. Now this, and if you can see there, it says limited 1 of 150. Now this is our first venture into comics. It's Anna issue 0, and this is the first printing. We kind of had this idea to do something different for. Actually, you explain the band first.
Okay, so Anna is my current band. So while we were creating Gods Among Men, we simultaneously worked on the Anna comic. So even though Anna hasn't made its appearance in the comic industry and Gods Among Men has come first, Anna was actually released first, but outside of the comic industry, in the music industry.
Yeah.
So what happened was we needed merchandise to sell at our shows. We didn't want to do the usual things like T-shirts, vinyls, and because of my previous experience, I found that those were very costly endeavors that very rarely paid off. I've got T-shirts from my old band still in my cupboard. Lots of them. So when we were shooting our first music video, Aaron looked at us while we were there and said, you guys look like, superheroes or supervillains, comic characters. And that sparked the idea. I thought, well, so we're already working on a comic. We've got the artists. If we come up with a concept and a story, I guess we could create a new one. And we worked out the costing and we went, you know what? It's going to be more cost effective to produce a comic and sell them at shows. It was hard at the start. A lot of people saw us with a comic and went, what's this? Where's your T-shirt?
Yeah. Well, what's great about the comic, as I guess if you look at it as merchandise, is that with a T-shirt you have to produce one of every size, a small XS, XL, whereas with a comic it's if you've got eyes you can read it, and so literally it would fit anyone.
And that surprised us in terms of the reception too, because after about 2 months of doing shows, we sold out nearly all of the 150.
Wow.
So now we're currently onto the second printing,
Which I also have.
which has the colors remastered by our new colorist.
Nice.
Yep.
So that's that's the colorist that we've got working with us on Gods Among Men.
Mhm.
So we've bridged him over to the Anna comic as well, and yeah, it's actually been a really nice thing to have these two very different works, because Gods Among Men is a true crime story, and so it's very heavy. It's very it's a bit depressing, especially as things proceed, the reality of the world. Whereas with Anna, it's the first time we can kind of be like, oh, it's a sandbox. We can, do whatever we want with it. But in true fashion, the way
How do you sum it up?
so I like to describe Anna comic as it's a manga story told through Western art style, a manga inspired story.
Okay.
And that's sort of, I think the process in which we came up with it is very reflective of Josh and my writing relationship, where he is basically the original ideas guy. He's like a geyser that spurts out hot steam from the ground, and I'm like the guy who's going in going, this is a great source of energy, we can use it. And so I'm there in my hazmat suit trying to harness the energy, and sometimes you get burned, but you've got a crazy good source. And so yeah, what happened with the story was I said, hey, I think you guys would look cool as characters. What if we did a comic book? Then Josh was like, let me think about it. Left for the shops for about 10 minutes, came back and went, I've got it. And I said, you've got what? He said, the entire concept. And I was like, wow.
Sometimes just walking around, helps you clear your thoughts and also say, okay, this is what I think it should be about. This is what we have to put in here.
And I think that's kind of my blessing or curse is I can't start something unless I know where it's going. So just like Gods Among Men, we know how Anna ends.
Again, always a good idea.
I think so. I can't embark on something unless I know where it's going.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm with that with my own comic series.
Yeah. I think it's a good attitude, really. So you never really get lost.
Yeah.
Or drag it on for longer than it should.
Yeah. Yeah, you want it to end on your terms, not somebody else's.
Yeah, not like retire from something and then come back later.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Another stretch goal.
This is at our second stretch goal. We wanted to sort of tap into the resource that was Comic Studio, our publisher, and also an opportunity for other creators to help each other out. So Liza Ray is created by Dushan Silva. He's another creator based in New South Wales, and he put his hand up for like, I'd love to contribute my work in for a stretch goal. So I think as people, as we start to meet these stretch goals, it opens up for people to discover a little bit more of what we've got going on down under.
Yeah. I like that. Third stretch goal.
We've met the third stretch goal, haven't we?
We've met the third stretch goal, yeah.
So everybody's gonna get all of this.
Yes. Well, Sleepless Perceptions, what we talked to our publisher Shane, and so he brought up an interesting option, which we're open to try. Like for us, the stretch goals are a little bit of a new territory for us. So what this is basically is it's a free optional add-on, and you just cover the postage. So I was like, okay, that sounds cool. It's a new thing, let's give it a crack. Something new.
All right.
Well, the fourth stretch goal doesn't have an image, but that's one of the other creators has put forward his work in PDF form as well. And that's another similar sort of I think it's like a dark dystopian sort of style. So we're also trying to find stuff that was a little bit more similar, I guess.
Yeah, I can see why, because you want to make sure that you're not only getting exposure for yourselves, but also for stuff that's similar to what you're doing.
100%.
Yeah. So, Gods Among Men is now on Kickstarter for only 5 days left. If you haven't backed it yet, I do so now.
Do it.
Yeah, I like that. Breaking Bad meets Train Spotting. Very good.
I mean, it creates that sort of precedence, I guess, in people's mind, because these are, they were successful properties, but also it's got elements that are similar. But I think when you throw in the true crime element in there as well, I feel like we've kind of come up with something that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. Now I have to ask. I can ask this for both series. I know you have a beginning, and I know you already have an ending established. How long do you see this going? About both of these series.
Well, it comes down to how quickly we can put them out.
Mhm.
I think Aaron has estimated Gods Among Men to be how many issues?
150.
Good lord.
Yeah, this is, and you know what? I kind of have this thing of like, I have great respect for a lot of manga creators because, they have this ability or maybe inability to, they always stay on one thing and they really drive that train all the way. They don't do sort of like, oh, a little bit here, a little bit there. And I can really respect that drive, and often a lot of these series start to become crazy following, crazy fan base, because I think a story, especially one that would continue for that long, requires that kind of dedication. I think that's why personally I enjoyed, for example, let's say the Spawn series. I'm a big fan of Spawn, especially in its early 90s into early 2000s era.
Yeah.
But I personally started to feel that when something keeps going with no sort of end in sight, or the creator starts to back away from it, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I start to lose a bit of that sense of, what's your goal? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And there's other things.
Yeah.
There's other things we would like to work on, other ideas we have down the track. But for now, our goal is to see it through. And it's a long one. 150 issues will take time, even if we worked at a quick pace.
No, I agree with what you were just saying, Aaron. Yeah, I've also read Spawn myself. I do agree. There was a point where, Todd had just, stepped back, and I'm like, well, it's fun, but it's not as fun because you don't know where it's going. We don't know where it's going. You don't know what the end is. So that was another reason why myself and my friend Eric Hernandez, we want to make sure that we also have endings to our comics because there has to be an ending. There has to be a finish.
Yes. What? Yeah, when you bring up Todd, because I remember reading a thing that Todd said, and he said he knew how Spawn ended, but he didn't want to end it because the ending would mean that Spawn's no longer selling. And to me, that's like, oh, so you want to end it on a whimper rather than on a bang. And I'm not a fan of that. Look, I love a lot of the stuff Todd does, but I'm just not crazy about this, beat a dead horse, milk the cow till it's dry kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know as much about comics, but one of my favorite directors is Quentin Tarantino. And I love that he came out from the beginning saying that I will do 10 movies. And now he's working on the 10th one. Now, we don't know if he's going to stick by that. I hope he does, but so far, he's been really consistent. He doesn't do a lot of things. I'm sure he has been offered massive sums of money, but he's been very true to his vision. And that's what I would like to do with our comics and music, is to have that integrity to say this is how we're doing it, and we're not going to just milk it endlessly.
Yeah, because as we've just said, there's a beginning and there's the end.
Yeah.
Eventually, everything comes to an end. And yeah, that your fans might be, saying, "Oh no, please do another one, or please do a spinoff." Then you're like, "Nope, nope. This is what we want to do."
Or you could do something new, afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got great respect for Breaking Bad. 5 seasons, great story, boom, that's it. I'm not crazy about spin-offs. I'm not a fan of the spin-offs. I thought the 5 seasons were great, and just leave it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it again.
I actually like Better Call Saul, but it's okay. It's okay.
I've heard good things about it. I think I lack the patience to continue on with it. But I have heard that Better Call Saul was
not El Camino. That was
not El Camino.
Unnecessary.
No, that was not. They didn't need to revisit that. That was just kind of like an overkill, in my opinion. So, no, I get it.
Oh, actually, off topic. A really good TV series that revisited and did it with a lot of class and very well is Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
I think that's an example of coming back many years later and doing it well.
I was gonna go in vain of it and say Trainspotting with Trainspotting 2, but okay, Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls. See, I love the Gilmore Girls. It's such a good. I know it sounds so popcornish, but it's actually a really, really well written series.
Yeah, I would say so. I've seen a couple episodes, but it's an enjoyable show. It really is.
He's a very unexpected lad. He's got a lot of these real bizarre curveballs. And they're often, and that's the thing with the writing process, there'll be the most random times, and you just go, "Oh, I know what happens to this character," and I'm like, I didn't ask, but where did that come from? But okay, and then I get out my phone, I start typing up notes. Someone once described it like they could see Josh and I, our writing relationship, as he's pacing around the room, just rambling stuff, and I'm sitting behind a typewriter furiously going.
Great. Season show.
Vice Principals.
I haven't heard of Vice Principals.
Is it a US TV show?
I actually don't know what this is. So I'm behind because I'm just stuck with comic book series and dramas, so that's about it. But thank you for your comment.
Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah, I found when it comes to comics, I've been really I think over time, like first Fawn kind of ruined it for me because with when I first picked up the Billy Kincaid issue in issue 5.
Oh, that one. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
He was he's in the new Fallout series.
Okay.
He was in Westworld. He's cool. I like him. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. Spawn kind of ruined me with this showing me that comic books can get dark and get heavy. So ever since then, I've pretty much only been interested in stuff that's a little bit, confronting, I guess. I struggled to kind of go back to read, X-Men and Spider-Man. Like I love McFarlane's work on Spider-Man. I love Capullo's work on like X-Force and stuff. But the storylines I just couldn't get into. But I did start reading something recently. I thought it was quite cool. I won as a prize of this local show called Aussieverse, so you should check them out on YouTube. But it's the N League, written by Rick Remender, and I'm actually a fan. Yeah, like it's actually a really sort of pessimistic / realistic approach to superheroes and powers in the world.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of stuff, like The Boys as well.
Oh, that's yeah.
And Watchmen. I like Watchmen.
Yeah, I think you can sort of see that synchronicity where we like it when superheroes fail.
It's not that I like it what I liked about Watchmen is that it's not an ongoing thing.
It wasn't. That's a limited series.
Yeah, it's going to start and an end, and it tells a very coherent story. I'm definitely not a fan of ongoing things, except I will make one exception, is the Naruto series.
Okay. All right.
I do agree, and anybody who's been into it knows that it has gotten lost over the years. But the creators come back in and right the ship, and at the moment, I'm obsessed with it. I think they're doing really, really well.
Yeah. I've said.
Yeah, Naruto. Go watch all 1,000+ episodes of it.
I think I'll have to. Yeah. So, guys, the link below is to the Kickstarter. Gods Among Men, issue 1. It's got 5 days left. Please give some love for this Kickstarter. Just give a little more. And you get to have these awesome rewards. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thanks
Thank you for having us.
Of course. You can always come back when you have another project that you want to promote.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you. Before we go, please check out my comic series Kicks on Indie Planet Codename Hunter. It's got issues 1 through 3 on there right now. As always, please like and subscribe on YouTube.
Woo!
Yeah. So I think that's all for us for today. I'm Ian Miller, and this has been Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. Have a good night, folks.
Thank you, New York. Good night. I've always wanted to say that.
Also, be sure to actually follow us on our social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you'd like to follow us on YouTube, just hit that like button and subscribe.